A disability may slow you down, but it can't stop you unless you allow it to. Where there's a will, there is a way.
Welcome to An Apple a Day, a podcast, a resource, a community. Share your experiences and learn from others as we overcome barriers and learn to live a happy, healthy life with a disability. Welcome to the community. Here's your host, Jimmy Apple.
Welcome to another episode of An Apple a Day. I'm your host, Jimmy Apple. How you feeling today, my friends? You feeling good? You feeling strong? You feeling better than you did yesterday? Excellent. You can't ask for better than that. How you making out with your doctor's appointments and your medication? You taking it the way it was prescribed? You keeping up with your supplies? You got enough medication in the house? Great. You can't do better than that. Your doctor's appointments. Are you still doing the virtual appointments or are you going out to the office? If you're going to the office, make sure you wear your mask. It's still a law that you have to wear masks into medical buildings and hospitals. So make sure you're wearing the mask. Make sure you're socially distancing yourself. The numbers are going back up again with this COVID-19. They're going up slowly but surely. And with all these different variants, you have to worry. If you didn't get the shot, maybe you might want to consider it. You know, the shot isn't the be-all and end-all, but it is another weapon in your quiver. The same thing, the mask is a weapon. You know, even though you got the shot, you still have to wear the mask. There's no be-all and end-all cure against this COVID-19. So we still got to keep our guards up. Anyhow, we have got a good one for you today. I'm going to introduce you to Tracee Garner. She is the author of the book Disability, an Anecdotal Field Guide for the Rest of Us. Let me tell you something real quick about Tracee. Tracee's not a doctor. She's not one of these people that like to study up on disabilities and tell everybody like she's an authority. Tracee actually walks the walk and she talks the talk. Tracee is disabled. She's been disabled for 40 years, more than 40 years. And she's writing from experience. And she's taking information from other disabled people as well. She's not just blowing smoke up your butts with this book. And this book isn't a novel. This book is more of a reference book, and it covers a multitude of topics about disability. But I'm gonna let Tracee tell you all about it herself. But I just wanted to let you know, Tracee is the real deal. And on top of that, she is a professional author. That's right. Well, we're gonna discuss all of that in the interview, but I just wanted to throw that out there. This isn't somebody just, talking off the top of their head. Tracee is the real deal. And on top of that, she's a warm-hearted, funny, very funny person. She's a real person. She's not one of these elitists, where she could be. She could be if she wanted to be, but she's not. She's a down-to-earth, very genuine person. So I just wanted to put all that out there. No big fluff or hype this time. I want to get right to the interview. So sit back, relax, and let me introduce you to Tracee Garner. We're here with Tracee Garner. She is the author of Disability, an Anecdotal Field Guide for the Rest of Us, and I believe we need it. Hello, Tracee. How are you?
I'm doing good, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing better than I should be, I guess. How you feeling today?
It's going great. I'm so happy to be joining you on this podcast, and I look forward to our conversation.
I've been looking forward to this all week. So tell us, I want to point out before we even start that you are speaking from experience. You suffer from muscular dystrophy, am I correct?
Yes, that's right.
So you're not just blowing smoke. You're talking from experience here.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. Truly, I was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy at the age of 2 years old. So, 43 years ago, I'm 45 now, and just trying to live this life as best I can and taking some notes on my observations for people to read and enjoy and laugh at and have a good time and really navigate their life with disability.
Excellent. Excellent. So, how long did it take you to write this book?
This book has been almost 10 years in the making. It didn't take me that long to write it. I really am always writing. I've written a number of books in addition to this one. This is my 15th book, actually.
Whoa.
But only in the last 2 years, I really finished the book. The book that I had a vision for and what it eventually evolved to be were two different things. And so I had to kind of reconcile the two and create a product that I was really proud of, even though it kind of evolved and changed from my original thought.
Now, it's a field guide.
Yes.
I feel like we're talking military here. It's a field guide. Did something happen in your life that caused you to want to write a field guide? Like, did you hit an obstacle somewhere that said, you know what, I'm going to share this with other people?
Well, when you're a person with a disability, as you well know, you hit so many obstacles. There are too many obstacles for one book. It can't be contained in just one volume. And that's actually on the cover too. It says volume 1. So I'm hoping that as I go along, I will have other people contributing their stories of their barriers and how they overcome. What I really wanted in this book is kind of a guide to say, when you come up upon transportation issues, here's what Tracee did to overcome those and to navigate them and really to deal with some of the setbacks. I, was learning to drive. I had to have a modified vehicle. In that particular chapter on transportation, I talk about working with my vocational rehab counselor and how I was denied 7 times to get the life-saving modification that I needed. And so I talk about caregiving, how it is to hire and fire sometimes people to help you and assist you and get the support that you need. And there are just 9 separate chapters that seemingly like they don't have anything to do with each other. But there's definitely a recurring theme of this is what happened. This is how I dealt with it. And at the end of each chapter is take action. So I'm talking about how you can take action on that particular subject in your own life. And I really wanted to leave people with kind of a roadmap. So yes, it's a field guide in that I've gone through these issues, I observed what occurred, and I write in great detail about that, and then kind of moving on, going to the next step. So I hope that people, whatever they come up upon, they'll be able to refer to the book or the blog when it comes out. Almost like a yellow pages of finding tools and resources on what to do and how to navigate, their disability as it relates to their life goals.
One of the things I noticed from the press release, one of the topics you cover in there, which I think is very, very important for no matter what your disability is the emergency preparedness.
Yes, absolutely. Disability is to me sometimes, if one little thing upsets our apple cart, it is complete disaster. So I am not talking about natural disasters and the things that befall everyone. In a natural disaster, we're all at risk regardless of disability. But even in your own home, what happens if your primary caregiver passes away suddenly? What happens if, people go out for the day and they don't come back, for whatever reason? What happens if you have a disability and all of a sudden you have aging parents and maybe their memory is starting to fail them? They're taking care of you, providing the support, but now you're going to be the caretaker and you need help yourself. So how do you navigate some of the things, my greatest scenario and something that I'm always trying to mitigate is, what if my primary parent were to die? I already have one parent that's deceased. The caregiver didn't show up for the day. maybe there's a flood or something at my house that I need to take care of. I'm just trying to think in the emergency preparedness chapter, these worst case scenarios that are compounded by disability. So that's what people can't, what if you didn't have any caregivers? What if you need to hire an agency? Do you have money? Do you have funds to hire someone from an agency? They have plenty of people. But you may be on a Medicaid type program. You don't have the things that you need. So it's really having a contingency plan and really also thinking about these things. We're just kind of cruising through life often, and we're never thinking about what could befall us. What is one thing that would upset our whole lives? Do we have the money? Do we have the network and the resources to mitigate the fallout? And, how are we mentally? Do we have enough to be able to figure out this is what I can do? Do I have other family members I could call? So I just kind of went through all of that, in the emergency preparedness chapter saying, it's not just emergency of extreme heat or extreme flood, weather disaster. It's your own self that can be a disaster, depending on how your disability affects your ability to live your life.
That makes sense. That makes great sense, actually, because, like you said, all it has to happen is one little thing, and that could turn your life into turmoil.
Right.
Now, the other thing too, and this I didn't realize until a little bit ago, housing. How much housing can be such a problem?
Yes.
Especially for a wheelchair bound person. To get something wheelchair height and wheelchair accessible is one of the hardest things to come by.
Definitely. And we're in a housing crisis. In mostly densely populated areas, there is no low income and accessible housing available. So what are you going to do? The other thing I talk about in that chapter is just that, your ideal situation of what you wanted to look like as a person with a disability can't always be realized, but you're going to have to make some concessions. Like, as a person who can't get out of bed by themselves every day, I will probably always have to have a roommate, or I'll have to have somebody that lives maybe one unit over. That's not what I envisioned, but that's my reality. A lot of these young kids with different intellectual disabilities, they really want to live on their own, and they really want to, they think they want their own apartment, and they want to be a major adult. But there are a lot of things as far as safety, as far as calling for help if you fall or trip or hit your head, as far as the medication that you're on and the way it affects you. There are a number of things. And while it is a bitter pill to swallow, not being able to live on your own all the time, it's just the reality. And you can decide what your attitude is going to be, towards that. And so it's not about, giving up the housing and the housing itself. And I encourage people to make a list of all the things they want and all the need and try to arrive at a happy medium. But it's also about, the very bitter realizations of what your home situation is going to look like. So not everybody's ready for that. Not everybody's ready to admit, and even parents, because part of my book is also geared towards parents of children with special needs, parents of youth and young adults with disabilities, that you need to think about this. You're getting on in age. You're going to die. I'm sorry if anybody is not realizing that they're going to die at some point. But you are going to die, and what is going to happen to little Johnny and Susie? And have you made plans for that? Because most people have not. Most people have not thought about that. They just think, I'm going to live forever, or he's going to die, he or she is going to die before me, and that'll be that. But people with disabilities are also not the only ones living longer because of the supports, the medication, and just it seems like our undying will to live as long as we can. So, people aren't thinking about these.
And that makes great sense also. This planning ahead. And you really have to, especially if you have a child. You have a child that's disabled. You have to make plans.
Yeah.
And I'm going over the list as we're talking here.
Sure.
And the caregiving.
The caregiving, yes.
And like you said, that's not cheap.
It's not cheap. even if you have a Medicaid program to supplement paying for them, that is not enough money.
Nope.
I know in Northern Virginia, they're only paying $13.60 an hour. That is not a livable wage. And so it is almost impossible to find people that are willing to work with you on that. And so you also, again, back to the money issue, you need to have some money to supplement that Medicaid, what Medicaid pays. If you want to find good people and you want people to stick with you and to stay with you, especially during emergencies or a family member goes in the hospital, they can't be with you, you're going to need to come out of your pocket and incentivize them being with you and them staying with you. And that, it is a major crisis. And the pandemic really obliterated the healthcare industry. It has been so hard to find people as a result of the pandemic, and people not putting up with these little wages anymore. They don't have to do that when they can go somewhere and get a $3,000 bonus, just for showing up. I mean, it's crazy. So we're going to have to stay more competitive in order to keep and find good people to hire. And so, that's really something people aren't thinking about.
Let me ask you, now, like in Virginia, do they have that program where you can hire a family member as a caretaker?
In certain cases, yes, they do have the Medicaid waiver program, but there are still stipulations with that. So, then what if your primary person becomes ill or sick? And I really advocate, people with disabilities, finding people that aren't family members. Family members can always be a backup. They can always be a wonderful person. But let's say something happens to them, it's going to be that much harder for you to scramble and find someone than if you had already been kind of used to finding people. I'm not saying family shouldn't do it. I'm just saying, in addition to family, who else can I find to assist me?
Right.
And plus, there's a lot of dignity. If you have a falling out with your family member, trust me, I've been there. It is the worst. You have this long, drawn out fight, and that night you're gonna well, I'm ready to go to bed now. Can you come help me? Or I'm ready to get up now. You never know. Of course, you love your family, but there are some people, some horror stories you hear about, and so it's nice to be able to call a caregiver and say, hey, could you come over, so you don't have to go into detail about, I had a falling out with my mom. Could you come help me, please? I don't want to ask her, but these are the things that happen. And I think you'll just have your independence, if you're able to do that. And if you're not, that's fine. But if you can, have that backup, know someone else, develop better relationships with friends that can help you personally, and just think about who else, if this goes south, who else can I depend on?
Right. Now, the next thing here you have on the list is recreation. Now, this, to me, I've gotten so many emails over the years about recreation, and not even recreation, just going out of the house. People seem to feel if they're listed as disabled, that they're a prisoner in their own house. That they're not allowed to smile. For some reason, some people feel that they're not allowed to smile. They're not allowed to ever be happy again because they're receiving disability.
Right. And that's just true. That's just, so far from, you need it. You need, recreational opportunities just for your mental and physical health. Going out. And the thing that's the problem with, our groups of people is that the transportation is always there to support us after 5 p.m.
True.
Things close up shop. I want to go to the movies. Movie starts at 7 and 8 and 9 o'clock. How am I going to get there and how am I going to get back? So sometimes the infrastructure isn't there to support us. And then things are not always accessible. We have a lot of wineries here in Northern Virginia. They don't think people with disabilities probably will ever patron them because most of them, 90% of them aren't accessible. And we do all of those things. So people, the industry needs to catch up and be more accessible. And then we need the support in order to go out and also visiting, other friends. We need to think about our housing in a way that invites people of differing abilities, people that can't do so many steps. what can we do in the garage to make it more accessible? People always have to come over to my house because it's most accessible and I can't go to theirs, and that's so frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really about ensuring that you have a way to find recreation. And the other thing that I bring up in that chapter is, even though people with disabilities, enjoy doing advocacy efforts, enjoy speaking and giving testimonials, I do certainly at least. I have to make sure and take a step from that because while that is fun to me, it also is real work. So I encourage people, with disabilities not to get caught up in doing these things that are really at the end of the day work. You may be having a little bit of fun, but let's try to find things that are really fun and not just going somewhere all the time and speaking and doing the advocacy. Of course, it's fun. You feel included, you feel purposeful, but you need to have other outlets where you're just shooting the breeze with your friends and nobody's expecting you to have to do something.
Right,
Well,
exactly.
that's what I found a lot of my leisurely outlets was where I was having to do something to perform and to give, a speech. And I really enjoyed it. I gravitated towards it. And I was in a lot of leadership positions. I was a lot of presidents of different organizations. And while that was fun, I had to think about, why am I doing this? It's because I want to feel included. It's because these people are kind of my friends, kind of not. They're colleagues. It was, I got a lot of respect from doing those things, but it was also exhausting, so I wasn't having fun all the time. I needed to really find things that were a lot of fun and not just wrapped up in, a disguised another work opportunity.
No, you have to go out, have coffee, go to a park,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Go fishing if that's what you like to do, or something like that.
Something like that. Something where you're not doing, and working.
Right. You have to be able to go out and let the sun hit your face. Yeah.
Right. But I think we're just naturally such organizers. We'd like
exactly.
to just do stuff. We want to feel productive and contributing members of society. And I just think that gets convoluted a bit.
Well,
difference between work-life balance.
One of the things I find is that when people see people with disabilities out enjoying themselves for some reason, and I hate to use this term, able-bodied people seem to get an attitude about it, as if you're not supposed to be enjoying yourself. I had a guest on the podcast a couple of years ago. This fella Oski's a truck driver. And he gave me a ration of nonsense about people with disabilities having parking permits. Why do they need parking permits? If they're disabled, why are they going out? That was his speech.
Gosh.
I said, well, the same reason you go out, But, and then since then, I've gotten other people with the same thing. Why do they need handicap space? Why do they need handicap spaces at Disney World? Was one of the emails I got. Why not?
So ridiculous.
It is, ridiculous. And it's not everybody, but there's enough of them out there that feel that if you're disabled, you're a prisoner. Or not a prisoner, but you should be in your house. If you're receiving any kind of benefits, you should be in your house. And that's the other thing with people that receive benefits. I hate when they call it an entitlement. This is something that you had to pay into. It's an insurance that you had to pay into, and now you're collecting on that insurance. Nobody's handing you anything.
That's right.
It's the same thing as if you wrecked your car. You paid insurance and you get money to fix your car or buy a new car. Nobody's giving you that. You paid for that.
That's right. And you earned it.
Right, exactly. And I try to explain this to some people that do call in or write in, and it goes nowhere. It's like it goes in one ear and out the other. They don't want to hear about it. They think you're on some kind of government program and you're on a vacation. Well, they can have my vacation.
Right.
I'll take your hard work, and you can have my vacation. But you have to take all the problems with it.
Right. And not only that, they can't believe that we travel and that we do things on our own. I was appalled when someone asked, I ran into the store. My mother was with me one time, and someone from an older church we used to frequent came over and said, "You let her go in the store by herself?" And I was like, what rock do you live under? It's like, I go in the store all the time. If I'm going to get something quick, I can move fast. I can go in there, I can get it, and I can be out. And it's just like, where these people come from? You're just astounded each time it happens that there aren't enough of us, going around living our life, that there isn't more awareness. So, and then people on the other side too, the service providers sometimes frown at you. If you need a little assistance in the store, it's like they work there, you need assistance, and then they want to frown at you because you need help. Like, why didn't you bring your caregiver today or something?
Right.
That just makes me so mad too. So
I agree with you 200%. 200%. Yeah. It annoys me. For some reason, life annoys me when it comes to something like that. I have no problem. I would rather be independent. It irks me to have to ask somebody to help me. It really does. But if I ask, I mean, they don't know, but for me, if I ask, it's because I really have to ask. It's because...
But some people are so willing to help. They're like, of course. It's my pleasure, and then you go to other people who are like, well, I don't know why are you even here without your caregiver? Like, where are they? Why aren't they? Like, and that costs money too, to have them come and do something when I can just go out and you're just getting it off the shelf. It's not like I asked you carry 20 bricks from the back of the store to the front of the store. I just asked you to get something that's high up off the shelf, which even a person of short stature or just a short person would need help doing, and I will take it in my lap and check out. Like sometimes people have acted like you just asked them to move, Africa to the other side of the world or something. It's just ridiculous. And then other people are like, oh, they even see you sometimes and you're just so willing, like, oh, do you need any help? Can I get something for you? And those people I'm just like, oh, you're so wonderful.
Right. But you have to look.
Why can't other people be like that? If you're in a position to help, why can't you enjoy it? Why can't you try to be of assistance to someone else? Because you know what? One day you're going to need it too. That's the sad thing. You're not even thinking ahead to to a time when you also might need assistance, or you probably have already. You didn't like it, so you begrudgingly help others. But we're all, here even to help each other and to try, to do our best.
But playing
good citizens.
Playing devil's advocate, though, there are people out there that have a disability, granted, but they don't try. They don't try, and they'll look for any excuse to get someone else to do something for them.
That's right. That's right.
We do have them on our side too. Where there are nice people.
Able-bodied, disabled, doesn't matter. That's a jerk can be a jerk.
Exactly. A jerk is a jerk is a jerk.
That's right. They're disabled and they're not disabled too.
Yeah, I've seen that happen a ton of times. You ever go into Walmart and see some of those people with the electric carts?
Yes.
They can't reach something.
Why can't they make those things go faster? That's my
yeah, please.
Because they take out the whole store display, probably. They're not quite adept to driving it in a fast, so it has to go slow. And then the loud booping back up. Like, just draw attention to myself. I hate that.
I hate that. I don't back up. I go around the aisle and come back. I hate that beeping noise. But
and I'm sure they would go faster too. They don't want any attention.
Exactly. But I watched a lady one time in there, and she was a rotund lady. She was she was big, and she couldn't. She was reaching for this and reaching for that, and asking every aisle. She was asking somebody to get something down for her, and then she made it to the snack aisle. And I'll be damned, it was a miracle. She was able to stand up.
Hey, she's got her priorities in order. Those snacks are really important.
She was able, God is my witness, she stood up and she was grabbing stuff off the high shelves. It was a miracle. It wasn't that I was following, it's just that she goes so slow. She was just happening to be in front of me wherever I went. But
yeah, and when they're there, they are always, it's like getting stuck behind a school bus. That's just
yes, exactly. Exactly. And the lights are flashing all the time.
Right. They're going the same route as you. It's one way on each side. There's no passing lane.
And the stop sign keeps popping out.
Yes.
Man. But yeah, it's the truth. But anyway, recreation is very important. I find that one of the most important things on your list, because you can either sit home and learn the words to every TV show and be able to recite it for them, or you can get up and move. What happens if you're sitting home, become a couch potato? Number one, the first thing that's going to get to you is going to be diabetes.
Right.
There's no ands, ifs, or buts about that. And that's the other thing. Once you become like this couch potato, your meal plan changes, because you're no longer getting up to eat meals because you're just there. So
and you can't really make them that well too.
Right.
And even cardiovascular disease and other things that really set.
Exactly. All of a sudden you find yourself eating ice cream for breakfast, potato chips for lunch, and ice cream for dinner. And so getting out and getting some air in your lungs and moving around a little bit, like you said, cardiovascular disease, peripheral artery disease, it's all important. It's important that you move. And,
That's right.
You just got to move. Even if you just go outside, get some fresh air, walk around in your driveway or in front of your building or anything.
Yeah. Anything. It's so good for you. It just reinvigorates you. And I found too that there are a lot more things that are accessible that you never would have thought of. There is an entire list of accessible trails that the Parks and Recreation National Park Service, they put together things that are accessible for you to go, that are usually right in your backyard. And often as a person with a disability, you can get free membership or free passes for a certain amount of time each year in order to go do these things. So even if you're just going through a nature trail or, something that has a beautiful waterfall, just taking that in is also good for your mental health, which is another chapter that I talk about in the book too.
Exactly. And I was just going to say that about the discounts, because I found that bigger places too, like Disney World, SeaWorld, a lot of these big amusement parks, they offer discounts. All you have to do is, and I would suggest people do it, is have your letter of eligibility for Social Security. Make a photocopy of it and keep it with you if you go into these places and just show it to them. They'll give you up to a 50% discount in some of these places going in.
Yeah. Sometimes you can even call ahead and they will, especially Disney World and the Disney World and the Disneylands.
Right.
I believe they have a list of all the rides that are accessible, so you can be sure to hit those and not waste your time with anything that's not accessible too.
Right. But even if you don't go on the rides, just to go to Disney World and just, be amongst people, be amongst other people. And you don't have to, if you do go on the rides, you don't have to wait online. Or you can wait online, but you can wait in the shade. It's better than waiting out in the, But, and SeaWorld, I find SeaWorld's very nice. But there's a whole list of parks. If you look them up on the computer, there's lists for every state of parks that offer discounts or free admission for people with disabilities. And if you look into AARP, they also have in their magazines, they have discounts for people with disabilities or older people, or or for both. There's a lot out there that helps people. You always hear people saying, "Oh, I'm on a limited income and I can't afford this and I can't afford," but there are a lot of discounts out there that
Take advantage.
I'm
And
sorry.
often we accessibility standards have now, in the last few years, become a major selling point. So they want to tout those available services to you so you'll come and visit and you'll patron, because we have income to dispose and places to go and people to see and things to do too. So they are actually using that to their advantage to tout, while they are also a good place to visit because of some of the accessibility features that they have.
Exactly. That's why your book is so important, because it touches on all of these things. And people with disability, this isn't a book that you're going to buy and just say, oh, I'm going to read it once. This is something it's a field guide. This is something you're going to go back and look at again and again and again.
I hope so.
Like you said, it's like a Yellow Pages.
Yeah, that was my goal for sure.
Now let's talk about Volume 2 that you're working on.
Yeah. Volume 2, I'm hoping that other people, even after reading Volume 1, my goal really is to have at least 5 volumes of so many disability topics. And so in the back of the book, I actually ask, readers, is it your turn, with a question mark? In that, what I hope it'll be your turn to write an article, to write a chapter for the book, much the same way, or at least the same structure that I have, where you talk about key takeaways. That's what I put at the front of each chapter. Then I tell the story of what I went through related to that subject. And then I have take action. That is about, what you can do to take action and to address the issues so that you could be successful. And is it your turn? It's just simply asking the question, would you like to contribute to this book? I gave some possible topics, but really it's really open-ended. People can go, if they have something that they read that sparked an idea that they should write about, a hard time, or something that they eventually triumphed over, I want them to contribute to Volume 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm hoping to really build the next collection from others. I don't want to write any of it. I want everyone, whether it's 9 chapters, whether it's 12 or 15, let us put together the next compilation of stories and anecdotal advice for people, for readers. And it'll just be this kind of growing thing on my website, on my blog, and also available for purchase. So I hope to really make it a series. That's my ultimate goal of is also contributing to the next book.
Well, we're gonna have the website where you can contribute your work to in the show notes for this podcast. But I will say this: I know quite a few people on Living with a Disability, our group page on Facebook, that could add tons of stories to this book. And you know who I'm talking about out there, so get to writing. I'm gonna start pushing some of you people. But anybody, because I've heard so many stories from people, and you guys triumph over all these obstacles. I mean, people that have been in comas and now they're out hiking.
Right.
These are success stories.
Mm-hmm.
Tell others how you do it. That's what this book is all about. And you can help other people do it.
Right. And that's the whole thing. I want us all to share. All of us have so many amazing tips and tricks and ways that, and I when I talk to my other disabled friends, I'm like, oh my God, I never thought of that. And so we are the most adaptive probably group there is, because we always have to take something that's completely inaccessible, rig it up, duct tape it, sew it, get your mom and your dad to sew it, rip it and put it back together. We are just so good at, fixing things and finding a way. And so I really just want to put all of those on paper or online. Any article, any chapter that doesn't make it into the book, I still would like people to consider, putting it on the blog, because we can create like a clearinghouse of field guide notes on like a gazillion disability topics. And so that's really my goal. I want to go somewhere and I want to find, how did you handle this issue under recreation? How did you, did you find the accessible gym in your area? No, but I started one. and everybody came. We shut the gym down Saturday mornings, 9 to 12, and any person with a disability could come and not feel scrutinized or made fun of and just work out because you're with your other disabled peers. They are people who have done that exact same thing, and we need the guide and we need the steps so that we can do that in our own communities, because that's how change happens. That's how awesome things get started. That's how we make a difference, and it gives somebody a recreation opportunity. So for people who don't have that, read the book, and this is how you're going to be able to do that. So going forward, like I said, volumes 2, 3, 4, and 5, we'll be more people. I might contribute every now and then, but I really want to curate this next batch, because I know there's going to be so many people who want to be a part that there's going to be no need for Tracee to write a chapter except the forward and the afterward, and that's it. And really kind of, get the table of contents going together. But I look forward to kind of just being at the helm of curating all this collection of things that people are going to contribute to.
I think that's such an excellent idea. And like I said, I've heard so many people have stories of success. And I think sharing those stories would be a big help to everybody else. I honestly do. And I've heard people tell how they got around these obstacles, under the obstacles, over the obstacles. And I think this would be a great way to share them.
Yes.
Now, I have to ask you this. I'd be amiss if I didn't ask you this. When I was researching you, I'm looking up this book, the Field Guide for Disability, and I come across romantic novels.
Yes. Well, mixed up.
Wow, did I blush? You are not only a writer about disability, but you write romantic novels. You were the former president of the Washington Romance Writers DC chapter.
Yes.
My God, do you have a full life? And
yes.
I was very, just perusing the books, and to anyone that has nothing to do at night, these are books that might keep you busy.
Yes, definitely. I have, I've always loved the written word. In college, as looking for something, looking for purpose, because my academics were failing. I just started, just writing. I remember being in math class and I couldn't figure out the math problem on the paper, and I didn't know what the teacher was talking about, fractions and some kind of other geometrical whatever equations that I had no idea how to solve. I actually turned my paper over, and there started, the stories of love and romance, and also a little.
Wait a minute.
I think
you went from fractions to this?
Yes. Fractions are about dividing and multiplication. Getting some addition, get some addition with another partner.
I'm sure.
So I just escaped. That was my whole thing. I just escaped, and I had to leave this thing that was just so devastating. I used to cry. I would cry after math class was over, and somebody would come over to me like, "What's the matter?" I'm like, "I can't do it. I hate math, and I just can't do it." I took math for liberal arts twice, and then I had to take 102. I took 101 and failed it, and then I had to take 102 and failed it. So I entered a contest when I was in college for writing a book, and I submitted my work, my story that I had written while I was in college, and I won a contest. I won a trip to New York and a $500 advance, which was a lot back then to a 20-something-year-old. And I just went to New York with my parents. They paid for us to come up there, and I got some recognition over my novella that they were going to put into this anthology. And that just really changed my life. So I've written 14 romance novels, well, really maybe 12 to 13, because I do have 2 other nonfiction books. But I just love, the idea of love, and I love things working out, the happily ever after that comes from reading a satisfying romance. I give my characters obstacles, the same obstacles that I have in life. And then the suspense part is just, some car chases, somebody's trying to kill the heroine or the hero, some little fights, baby mama drama, all of that thrown in for good measure. But they eventually, settle down, and get to the love part and, find their happily ever after.
I
So the
I
books that
don't
I've
I don't know if you were writing this during math class and you came out crying. I would think if you were writing this during math class, you'd come out and have to smoke a cigarette.
maybe well, I didn't want to injure myself further. I did have disability in my own. So perhaps crying was another release
Oh,
that
okay.
I could have that wasn't so devastating and, on smoking campus too. So,
Oh, okay.
um, but I cried because it was so hard. I never got through it. And then the writing part really saved me and gave me an alternative to do. And when I won the contest, actually, and people were saying, wow, you're a really good writer, that helped build me up. And actually, my grades and everything got better because I had this other thing that if I get through college, I can go home and work on this, and I can pursue this. So that was really when someone tells you you're really good at this, it just bleeds and motivates into every facet of your life. And
Sure.
so that's kind of what happened to me. I really prayed. I remember crying in math class and going home, and I was crying and really praying too. Like, please help me. Please give me something else in case I can't get these grades and I flunk out of college. Because I had already flunked out of college one time before because I went to a 4-year school and it was just not for me. I didn't feel like I had the supports. There is a disability services support office at a lot of different colleges and universities now, but they are exponentially better now than they were when I went through. They kind of didn't really know how to support people with disabilities. I'm on this big campus, 300 people per class, one professor, one teacher's assistant or whatever. That's also really another student, and I just could not survive. So when we moved, my parents moved from one county, Fairfax, to another county right next to that. And I went to community college because it was right in my neighborhood. I could actually roll up the street to it. It was that close.
Hmm.
And transportation was horrible. But I just remember, like, I have to do something. I need to graduate or I need another career path. And so I was able to do both because I found writing. And so that was just such a major
Well,
game changer.
well, thank
I'll
God you
always,
did.
I always write my romance and pursue my romantic suspense novels.
Like I said, your website. I thought I was in the wrong place for a second.
It's that scrolling marquee that gets you. You see the field guide and you're like, ooh,
I
people
do.
kissing. Oh my
All of a sudden, I forgot about the field guide, and I was looking at the other stuff.
God, you're intrigued. Yeah, but just to be clear, I do write kind of an inspirational, clean, wholesome romance. So there's
Yes,
nothing that.
yes. No, there's
Now, if
nothing.
you have
No,
your own dirty imagination, that's on you. But I
exactly. Exactly.
and triumph. There's a thread of inspiration underlying the romance and the suspense part. So it's all good. Anybody can read it.
Exactly. It's where your mind
Hmm.
goes.
That's right.
It's
Some of us are just in the gutter already, getting out.
exactly. You need a ladder to
I'm
get
in
out of
therapy.
it. Oh, Tracy, this has been great. This has been really great.
Absolutely. Thank
And
you. I enjoyed
I I'm really impressed with your work. I really am. And I think this series, the Anecdotal Field Guide for the rest of us, I think this series is going to be a winner
it. Me
because
too.
you're opening up to a large group. People really don't realize how many people have disabilities.
Hmm.
That's because we're kept in the shadows. You know,
Right.
no one wants to like you were saying earlier before we got on, that they don't refer to us really as people. They refer to the elderly and just kind of lump us into that.
Right, right.
Nobody says, "Oh, the disabled," unless it's a lawyer's commercial on TV.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't realize, and well, they're slowly starting to realize. I think it's starting to come out a little bit more, but
Mm-hmm.
not fast enough. But you're gonna touch on a lot of people are going to be touched on with this book. I think, like you had said earlier, that this is like a yellow pages for someone with a
Mm-hmm.
disability. And it's not a book that you're going to sit down and read like a novel. This is going to be a book that you're going to use as reference, I
I
think.
hope so. Take the advice, then go do the advice. That's really what I hope.
Exactly. Exactly. I want to keep in touch with you
Yeah.
as these volumes come out, because I'm really intrigued by this. Really intrigued. Now, this book is not ready yet. When is it going to become available?
The book is available for pre-order, and so it will be in your inbox on your Kindle, in your mailbox on January 7th if you order today. So it'll be available in ebook, hardcover, and paperback.
And
And so
where
the
can
first
they?
week of February, so you can go on Amazon.com. You can also go to my website. I'm going to try to do a limited number of signed copies. So I'll be mailing those, but the link will be available soon. And you can always email me. You can email me at hello@traceegarner.com. That's hello, HELLO, at Tracee Garner. My name is spelled TRACEE, Garner, GARNER.com. And I would be happy to send anyone who wants one. And we'll pay through the link and get you a signed hard copy. Okay?
All right. Well, we're gonna have all those links. If you didn't write that down, we're gonna have all the links in the show notes. So don't worry about writing it down, or if you didn't get it, it'll all be there. You'll be able to click on it, bring it right to Tracee's website, and you can write it there and everything else. Everything will be taken care of in the show notes. So everything will be there. You'll be able to order the book. I'd say order the book signed, because this is going to be big. And this is from a person that lives with a disability. This isn't someone that doesn't have a disability telling you what to do. This is somebody that lives the life. So that makes it even more special. Remember that. Tracee, I want to thank you for being on with us today.
Thank
And
you.
like I said, I definitely want to keep in touch with you. So
Sure.
yeah, but as things progress, we're going to keep on pushing. We're going to keep on pushing your books out, because I think it's so important for the people in the disability community. I
I
think it
would love that.
I think it's
Thank
so
you.
important, and I think your romantic novels are good for recreation.
That's right.
So
Smoking optional.
there you go. Yes, vaping. But thank you again, and I will talk to you very soon. Thank you for being
Okay.
here today.
All righty. Thanks so much. Have a
Okay.
wonderful day.
I'd like to thank Tracee for being here today and sharing her information about her book, Disability and Anecdotal Field Guide for the Rest of Us. And I suggest you get the book, whether you read it on Kindle or paperback or hard copy. Get the book. And me personally, I'm going to take advantage of having the book signed. I love signed copies of a book. That's just me. I like to get authors' signatures on the books. But thank you again, Tracee, and I really had a good time talking to you. And everybody, take advantage. If you like to write about your disability and how you get around it, and have it added to volume 2 of her series here, and get your byline in the book. All the links that she talked about during the interview are in the show notes for today's episode. So make sure you take advantage of them. Go check out her website, check out her Instagram and everything else. And again, put down your thoughts about your disability on paper or on the computer and send it to her. Send it to Tracee. She's going to help you even edit it and give you the byline in the book. Something to think about. Now, we'll be back again Friday when we speak to Sam Mitchell about his podcast, Autism Rocks and Rolls. That's going to be another good podcast there. And Sam is another good guy, and we'll find out what goes on in the background for his podcast, so you're not going to want to miss that. And let me just say, from all of us here at An Apple a Day and Famous Apple, and from my family to you and your family, have a wonderful, wonderful, safe, warm, happy Thanksgiving. And if you're not going to get a chance to celebrate with your family and your friends this year, don't worry about it. Make a phone call, do a Zoom session or a Skype, and get together with them that way. You know, we may have to make sacrifices again this year, but next year's another year. And if you're not going to be celebrating with someone, or if you're going to have to be alone, you're not really alone. You have the computer. Talk to other people. Make a phone call. Relax. Have a nice, relaxing day. Watch some football maybe, or watch a couple of movies, get Netflix going, fire that up. But think of ways to enjoy yourself. Give thanks for all the hard times by relaxing. Lay out on the couch. Just do you for Thanksgiving, if that's the case. But don't feel blue about it. Don't feel bad about it. Relax. Take this time to really unwind and just chill out. All right, my friend? Hey, we'll be back on Friday, and I look forward to talking to you again. You've been listening to An Apple a Day. My name is Jimmy Apple, and I'll see you in a day or so. Have a good one, my friends. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks for listening to An Apple a Day with Jimmy Apple, your gateway to a happy, healthy life. Join our community at www.famousapple.com. See you next time.